Do you have tight muscles that just don't get better? They continue to reoccur. You may get massage and it feels better for a day or two, but then keeps coming back. Let's take the next 2 to 3 minutes to talk about why this may be going on. My name is Greg. I'm a physical therapist and founder of my business Prehab Solutions, where I utilize rehab principles but apply them proactively. So we're going to go through this discussion using the low back as the example. So when I'm assessing someone through my functional mobility assessments, talking through their health history and what's going on, I'm trying to decipher why is their low back irritated, but what information can I glean from that as to maybe why that's going on. And when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about the local tissue stress that they're experiencing, but also globally, what could be contributors of that. So let's go through thinking about the lumbar spine as to what could be going on there. So if someone's coming to me saying my muscles are tight and they just will not let go, or they do for the short term, but then they come back, this is telling me that there's something deeper going on. This wasn't just a local muscle strain. So I'm starting to think at a joint level. So we have the muscles, but then deeper to that, we have the spine itself. Are those joints maybe not moving the way that they should? So then muscles there locally are just not getting the motion and glide that they should. And they're getting irritable because they're not seeing mobility and fluid changes around them. Or is that area unstable? Is there too much motion going on and those muscles there locally are holding on and thinking, okay, we can't let go, so we gotta stay tight because the joints are not stable? Is this a protective mechanism? So is this more of a neurological thing where the nervous system senses there's too much motion, you don't know how to control it, so instead of allowing too much motion to take place, we're gonna seize up and guard against that and try to protect the joint surfaces, the capsule, the ligaments around there from being overstressed? Or is this a weakness in some direction? So we think of our spine as kind of helping us with these forwards and backwards directions, sometimes side to side, depending on how we're moving, but then there's also the rotational component. So we may be really strong with our trunk forwards and backwards, but maybe we don't train rotation very often. So maybe there's a weakness there. And so those muscles, these long paraspinal muscles, may be tight because maybe they're being overworked in this forwards and backwards direction, but them and the supporting cast don't get enough training in the rotational plane of motion. Something to think about. And so those are some things that I start to think about as far as why locally could this be going on. Other contributors, we need to look downstairs at the hips, the knees, and the feet. And is there something going on that's causing that reaction from the bottom up? Also assessing the spine, the shoulders, and posture from above, and why maybe that could be contributing as to that local irritation of the low back. Now, when it comes to trying to make the area feel better, we get massage, we use heat, we may stretch and mobilize it a little bit, but what that does is it creates a window of opportunity. It opens the window, and during those times of feeling better after those treatments, that's not our time to stop and say, well, I hope this works. Because chances are, it's gonna come back unless you address the deficits that you find in your functional mobility assessment and through your exercise progressions. So we can use massage, heat, stretching, and mobilizations to try and get that area to feel better and calm down. But then once that window has cracked open a little bit and we're able to work on loading and loading through a full range of motion appropriately, then we start to train that stuff. And so when it comes to a little bit of core strengthening, postural awareness through the shoulders and the neck, strengthening for the hips and the glutes, not just with squats and this forwards and backwards sagittal plane of motion, but we got to make sure that the glutes are working well in the frontal and the transverse plane, these other directions that we don't commonly think about. And so when we start to think about why is our low back hurting, there's all these different layers that could be playing into that, both at a local tissue level where I feel it, but then also globally as to contributors as to why that tissue is screaming at us. So this is why functional mobility assessments is super, super important to figure out locally what's going on and what is trying to scream at us and get our attention, but then globally what could be contributing to that. So if you have any questions about this, or you feel like a functional mobility assessment would be good for you, I'd love to talk to you about it and see if I can help.